Going extinct? Wait, why the F are the goblins everywhere? Good question. One question I had about a lot of the goblins was, where was Gallywix? Where the hell did that fat boy go? Disappeared in the middle of Shadowlands with his triple chin and his greediness, and then all of a sudden he reappears now in this raid. What is Gallywix up to? What are the goblins up to? We're going to get a ton of this stuff answered very soon. Let's see what Belial has to say about some of this interesting new 11.1 goblin lore.
Think of the war within, and in your mind's eye, you'll probably picture Xal'atath, the earthen, maybe a really big crystal. But then you might wonder, what about all of the goblins? None of us expected this expansion to be absolutely full of goblins, yet here they are, running a holiday resort / mining operation thing. Or maybe in Ashket, where we find them running a day spa gladiator ring. I mean, if you do Cinderbrew metering,
they are everywhere.
You find even more goblins, and here in the Ringing Deeps, there's a massive tunnel. Almost certainly a massive tunnel to undermine, and we know the patch 11.2
That's right. I honestly assumed that all the goblins were everywhere because of this underground expansion, and I just feel like goblins always assume if you dig underground, you might find something worth money. That was my whole assumption as to why the hell there are so many goblins everywhere in this expansion so far. But I didn't really catch it until Belial mentioned it. There actually are, like in every zone, there are freaking random goblins.
To their home city of Undermine, though we do know we're somewhat led there by Xal'atath. And when you take a look at the press kit, we see these rather weird infested Titan ruins. If you've been wondering, what's the deal with the goblins? Well, today you're going to learn everything, and as they say, time is money, so here's today's sponsor. Do such a quality of life upgrade and let you go from idea to done fast. It's Squarespace. Whenever I needed a job site to expand my team, well, guess where I went to? Squarespace. For the landing page for our game, I went to Squarespace, and that's because they make getting the job done simple,
Where's my sponsorship,
cross-device, all while looking fantastic. You, of course, have got their award-winning templates that get you started off with a real strong foundation, and then design intelligence with Blueprint. Blueprint actually guides you through building.
I got to make my website for my Furry Forge company.
It is so satisfying, and it means that if you're not a designer, well, that's okay, because they take care of it for you and they keep you on the right track. Their block-based editor makes then crafting the details of your website so simple so that you can focus on design and content. And if you want even more control, Fluid Engine does just that. It is so cool. You can granularly move things without it breaking on like an iPhone. It's so cool. And I gotta be real, even just saying this as an employer, I think that everybody should have a killer website that represents them. Number one, it's just a good creative thing for you to do. It's a way where you can try to represent yourself in the internet, and that will help you maybe hone your sell, hone your portfolio. It'll be great for jobs, all of that stuff, perhaps even your side hustle. Or if you're doing that, well, they have got
that's what I'm doing.
Completely covered.
A little bit of side hustle.
They can do digital products, physical products. They'll hook up to your shipping provider. Now they support courses. They've got native video support, which can actually also be on courses, be membership videos. They do memberships. They do bookings. So if you're a hairdresser, there you go. If you're doing yoga, there you go. If you're coaching people in World of Warcraft, there you go. And the overarching point is this. They give you all the tools that you need to thrive online in one place, and they make it easy so that instead of tinkering around with things that don't move the needle, you can actually just build your site and start running your business, showing off your portfolio, whatever it may be.
And you can go to
squarespace.com/BelliarGaming, and you can actually build your site with a free trial.
There you go.
Use this code. Build your site. And when you're ready to send it live, you'll get 10% off your first purchase of a site or domain with code BelliarGaming.
I'm tired of hearing time is money. Yeah, you're going to hear a lot of that.
This is Gazlowe and his Grease Monkey gang. They're the elite of the Bilgewater cartel. Now, they crashed onto Khazalgar with the rest of us in Dalaran. He's a pretty quick-thinking guy, so he took a whole group of shredders. He began tunneling, looking for a way to surprise attack the Nerubians. But of course, as everyone does, he drilled too deep. He ended up in their home soil. He was ambushed, and he was dragged to Siege-Hold. But luckily, its commander, General Anub'Azal, was recently deposed in Ansarek's coup, and he was looking for outside allies. And that is when we players found Gazlowe in Azj-Kahet. Now, from there, he blasted the last of Dalaran's captives to safety, and he was key in forging the Severed Threads Pact. Of course, with the Nerubian threat ended, Gazlowe then realized...
Tickard coming in with the 13. Thank you so much, Tickard. I appreciate that. Welcome into our Scourge, boys. We're trying to find out what the hell these goblins are up to.
The true menace of Khazalgar, because, spider people are dealt with. Oh dear, there are lots of other goblins all over the place. He thought he was the only goblin in town. He was wrong. The place is lousy with them, and they're from all the different rival cartels. So it's time for your crash course in goblin politics.
Oh, great. There's a lot
Monty
to it.
Gazlowe is the trade prince of the Bilgewater cartel, and they're one of the big four that dominate Goblin society. Now, they are the Horde-aligned goblins, but for goblins, neutrality is seen as a strength because...
Yeah, you see, they're the Horde-aligned goblin. Think about the goblins is, and if you know WoW lore, you know that the goblins have been around for a long time. Shit, we've seen them in Gadget Scan for years before they ever joined the Horde. The thing is, they joined the Horde like they join many things, just out of, convenience. Hey, maybe we'll make some more money if we're with the Horde. Maybe we can develop some weapons for them and they'll buy them for us. They're almost like like a manufacturer of goods, and they're just looking at the best way to sell them or just to steal them from people. All in all, the goblins are, it's not good to make blanket statements maybe, but they're always in it for themselves. You got to be careful. Now, maybe Gazlowe is, he's trying to right the ship. We've seen some of the quests where he's trying to teach other goblins to not take advantage of each other, to treat each other better, that kind of stuff. But it's an uphill climb for him, that's for sure. So we're going to learn about all these different goblin groups. There's 4 of them that we're going to learn about, and we're going to earn reputation with and everything. So it's going to be interesting to delve deeper into goblin culture and really figure out, how Horde-aligned are they? Or are they really just in it for themselves still? Or maybe by the end of this, they will truly be, fully enveloped in the Horde.
You want to, of course, play both sides, always make deals, so cozying up to the Horde ended up making him some enemies. Now, after the Fourth War, Gazlowe did a census of his new cartel, and he discovered that all of their short-termist goblin antics were, in fact, really inefficient, just getting people killed, bad productivity, so his bunch of basically went a lot more legit and reasonable. Then we've got another cartel, the Steamweedle, who, of course, you'll know from Ratchet and Gadget Sam. Now, they were once aligned with the old Horde, but they basically earned their neutrality, and we've seen them a whole bunch within World of Warcraft. Now, Gazlowe convinced their prince, Marin Noggenfogger, to make some reforms within his organization. Now, Noggenfogger looked at all of this and thought, well, everybody's going to see me as weak if I started treating people decently, so Gazlowe promised him the Horde's protection, and because of that, Noggenfogger promised to at least try. I mean, at the end of the day, Gazlowe was saying, you'll get more gains, you'll get more productivity. And on the other...
You see, even like when they're just he's trying to teach the other goblins to be nice, he has to lead it or end it with, hey, by the way, if you're nice, you'll probably make more money. You get some more productivity out of these guys. And it's just innate. It's just how they are.
Get more gains, you'll get more productivity. And on the other side of this, we got the people who would stand to gain from all of the other goblins going soft, the Venture Company. They're the most exploitative, brutal, scheming cartel. Lots of goblins end up dying, but they do make a lot of money. They've got operations in Mulgore and Stranglethorn all over the world, and they've long been wrecking the place for a quick buck. And that's what brings us to Kaja'Cola. You see, Gazlowe visits Marl in Niffintown, and he discovers that the Venture Company have destroyed all of the incense around the town, which they quickly realized was the only thing stopping the many nasty creatures of Ashkahet from attacking the settlement. They'd done other cool things, like putting massive pylons in the worm pit that drove all the worms mad. Typical goblin stuff. Now,
they're very much an act first, repercussions later. Like they just, they're just going for profitability. So whatever repercussions that fall out from goblins, they're not evil. Okay, they're not evil. They're just they don't even consider them. They're just chasing the dollar.
Addition of some seats and an announcer's desk, of course, led to Kazalgar's most brutal open-world arena, where worms were just being killed and killing en masse, which was all great fun, and they did make some money. Typical goblin shenanigans, but not what Gazlowe was all about, so he was going to steer clear. But that is until the operations head, Jenny Boombuckle, let slip that they had come from Undermine. And that was interesting. Gazlowe was intrigued, and it was a big reveal for all of us, because this was the first confirmation that the city of Undermine had actually survived the eruption of Mount Kaja'Cola and Deathwing's cataclysm, which of course is the Goblin starting zone. But okay, that's the Goblin politics, and in the quest, Boombuckle and Gazlowe sparked a bit of a friendship, which could be the first step in rehabilitating the Venture Company's rep. But that, of course, does not mean that they have changed.
Oh, by the way, quick little tidbit. If you have made yourself unfriendly with any of the Goblin factions by, being a dick to the ones in Gadget Scan or something, Blizzard already confirmed that those reputations will not affect the new ones that are coming out, because some people were worried. They're like, oh, the Goblins hate me. I have a horrible rep with them. I kill them all the time. They're going to attack me when this new shit comes out. No, they're not. It's not going to carry over. It's a different reputation. Even though in the lore, technically you're an asshole, and they do still hate you.
Here's Goldie Barronbottom, grandee of the company, and she saw an opportunity in the Cinder Brew meadery. Basically, it's an alcohol monopoly and she wanted in. So she sniffed around the meadery after the Nerubians trashed the place, offering to fix it up. But Rembrandt, the owner of the place, had petitioned the Council of Donegal to do the repairs. Thing is, the council are a council. They didn't really get around to it, and that meant that Rembrandt, getting impatient, decided to accept the Goblin offer. This, of course, is what we call a mistake, because the next thing that he knew, the place was flooded. Goblins, ogres, gnolls, Goldie, of course, and they were all moving in, including Goldie taking over Rembrandt's quarters and styling herself as the BEO of Cinder Brew Meadery. She really is quite lovely, and Rembrandt made a very large mistake. Didn't really read the fine print of the agreement, which, of course...
At least the story. I do like the story of Cinder Brew Meadery. It's pretty good, and it's comical towards the end.
Handed the meadery over to the venture company in perpetuity. That, of course, leads to the mead becoming awful. The repairs ended up being endless. It was a big mess, so Rembrandt has enough and reaches out to us adventurers, and that is why we went to the meadery and we freed it from the venture company. Yep. For us, it was mostly just a little taste of the Venture Co., who we hadn't really seen since, well, I suppose, last expansion. And what we clearly see in this is the two sides of the company, the old bad side of the company, and then Gazlowe perhaps warming to one of them, and all of this going towards patch 11.2, where we'll be able to join any of the 4 different cartels. Now, so far we've covered a few of the Goblin schemes, but it's the next one that truly does matter. It's the one that will connect the Ringing Deeps to the Undermine.
Yeah, the vending machine mystery.
It's a lonely mining outpost in the Ringing Deeps, and inside we find the strangest thing: a Kaja'Cola vending machine. Now, this machine serves different flavors. There's Blueberry Blast, there's Oystery Outburst, and there's even a free 32-slot bag in there if you can make an anagram of boom with the first letter of each drink that you buy. But that's not the thing that's strange here. What's strange is Kaja'Cola is made out of Kajamite, and as far as we all knew, the Goblins had ran out of Kajamite. You may not really know what that means, what the implication of it is. We will get there. Let's just say for now that without Kajamite, Goblins aren't goblins and their entire society withers.
Yeah, without Kajamite is essentially what gave the Goblins their intelligence. So if they found Kajamite again, they might be able to become even more intelligent. That's the whole thing, is like they were just like a nomadic tribal people before, not into all the technology and everything else. And then it was their digging that led them to exposure to Kajamite. Kajamite then created hyper-intellectual humanoids that are the Goblins. Right, that's what they morphed into. So if they found Kajamite again, 1, they could become more intelligent, and then 2, obviously there's going to be a shit ton of money involved, and the Goblins are going to be very much into that. So we'll see how all of that plays out in the coming patch.
So that all begs a question: where the hell is this stuff coming from?
They were slaves of the Zandalari. Yep.
Machine, we find Mindy, whose trike broke down on the way to Gundergrass, and well, things are pretty interesting because she hands out advertisements for a lovely place called Opportunity Point, a new Goblin holiday resort. But before we show up, it's extremely obvious that something weird is going on. We see Goblins relaxing. There's a hot tub, there's somewhere to grab a drink, but there's also clear evidence of a mining operation, and I suppose holiday resort mining operations aren't exactly a normal thing. We find huge drilling machines, armored guards, military-grade shredders.
What did they find?
Behind all of this is a humongous rock slide. And to step outside of the story of this video for a bit, these are actually rocks that are instanced. That basically means the Blizzard can despawn the rocks. And what that means is you're almost certainly looking at the tunnel.
Yeah, that's probably the entrance to this new city, to Undermine. Yep, exactly. That's the entrance to Undermine. That's most likely where it'll be. I didn't even know how they figured out that this stuff was instanced. That's interesting.
Undermine. Actually, how we'll get there in the next major patch. Now, Goblins are flooding into Opportunity Point, and they are looking for work on whatever this strange project is. Then, in a quest that's likely a reference to the game Papers, Please, we check arrivals for basically corporate spies. And it turns out that at least half the newcomers are rivals who are just trying to figure out what's going on. What have they got here?
Of course.
And the thing that's strange is these Goblins are not Bilgewater. They're not Venture Company. They work for somebody else, but they don't say who. They are completely tight-lipped.
Xal'atath, maybe. Gallywix. See, the thing is, like, so far it's been understood that Xal'atath is reaching out to the Goblins or seeking the Goblins for something. The theory is that she's trying to get the Dark Heart fixed, and the Goblins somehow have the technology or know how to do that after it got destroyed by Illyria and her little arrow moment. So she's gone to the Goblins. to get this thing fixed, I guess. That's how we're discovering Undermine and everything. And maybe that's how Gallywix is returning. Perhaps he's sided with her. I wouldn't be surprised if Gallywix is sided with her. He's short-term profit. He doesn't care if the world's going to end. He's going to end it with a richer than he was before. So that's maybe where these interesting goblins with, no alliance to any of the cartels are coming from.
And that is very bizarre.
Yes, Dreadlord Gallywix. Cough, cough, exactly.
It probably brings us to a massive goblin personality that we've not talked about yet. Jastor Gallywix.
There it is.
He was once the leader of the Bilgewater, but he sided with Sylvanas and
is this his new model? Is this a new model for him? Because where's his Azurite cap? This used to be Azurite. What's going on here? Interesting. Or this is like an old model that he ripped.
Ousted by the new Horde Council. And since then we learned that he has set up a lavish hideaway in Undermine called the Gallywix.
Where's the Azurite?
Right now, his motives are unknown, but he was ousted. He lost a lot of power. He still does have power. He still does have riches, but he's a goblin. He will want more. He will want to win. So he does have a problem. And we all know a certain character who likes to arrive with a solution.
Right.
Put all of this together with the Kaja'Cola, the Kaja'Cola, and the fact that Gallywix is our next raid end boss. Well, it's finally time for you to learn how this is all connected.
It makes sense.
Here is Shredder operator Prospera Cogwall, and she was tasked with clearing out a place called the Abyssal Excavation, which, Abyssal, that does sound just a little bit suspicious. Anyway, it is what she calls the juiciest dig in her life. We go in, we clear the excavation, and, there's a problem remaining, and this problem is a Deep Strider, so obviously we slay the Deep Strider. But take a look at its hooves. What you actually see is,
Is that the color of Kaja'Mite? Yeah, it looks like it actually. Yeah, it's like a Kaja'Mite infected. These animals are so weird looking. Kaja'Mite infected. I thought it was Fellfire at first, but it's not.
Compare these hooves to some Kaja'Mite. The similarities
even the eye
in color and tone are undeniable. For Kaja'Mite to appear again in the lore with the Kaja'Cola vending machine is an extremely obvious nod from Blizzard. And all of this points to the Goblins finally finding a fresh Kaja'Mite source, which in a way isn't a surprise. Khazalgar is actually full of energies that change beings. We've got Ankoan becoming Kobus, we've got whatever the Haranir come from, we've got the black blood that's everywhere turning the Nerubians ascendant. But what brings us back to the mystery here is this Kaja'Mite and how it got here. Because if Kaja'Mite has ran out, where are we going to find it again? Well, there's basically two options. You get some fresh Kaja'Mite, or maybe what they're drinking isn't Kaja'Mite. Maybe it's Zalacola. Maybe it's something a little bit different.
Oh, shit.
Wondering. Okay, they want Kaja'Mite. They want some strange ore.
Maybe that's how she's, corrupting them or offering them more, kind of like she did with the Nerubians. It's the same rinse and repeat process. Hey, you want to ascend even further beyond? Drink some of this new stuff.
Turn into
Zalacola, yeah.
Why? Here's the deal. Goblins were once a small, unintelligent race that lived in the forests around Ulduar. Yes, WoW's goblins are actually hailing from Northrend. Anyway, they lived there. Mimiron found a substance that he called Kaja'Mite, and he discovered that exposure to this made mortals more intelligent. So in classic Keeper fashion, what he did is he kidnapped their entire race, and he transformed them into the highly intelligent goblins that we know today, to of course be useful workers in technical problems. But the Keeper's order obviously fell apart, and the goblins ended up being separated from the Kaja'Mite. Then over time, those goblins degenerated. They basically turned back into their normal form. That is, until the Zandalari.
Degenerates. Yeah, that's what we are. Zal Bathwater. Yeah, that's a good one.
Empire found a tribe of goblins living in Kazan. Of course, in classic Zandalari fashion, they enslaved the entire race and put them into the mines. The thing is, though, the rocks under Kazan, well, those were full of Kaja'Mite, and over centuries and centuries of mining for the Zandalari, the exposure caused the goblins' intelligence to come back. And once they got smart, they ended up winning their freedom.
Yeah.
So that's why Kaja'Mite is important. And the bit that matters is, if they're separated from Kaja'Mite for too long, they basically revert into their original form.
Interesting. I didn't actually know
goblins,
that.
There being no Kaja'Mite is really, really bad. They will lose all of their beautiful goblininess. And that's our link to the rest of the War Within. Everyone Xal'atath manipulated basically had a problem. For Speaker Eirik, well, that was the Awakened awakening machine. For Elric Lade, well, it was his loss of faith, right? His strange ideas about Beladar. For the Nerubians, there was their slow fall, meaning that Ansarek wanted power, and she wanted power now, hence Xal'atath. All that Zal did was just show up and offer a bar.
Got a problem, enter Xal'atath. Yeah, that's basically how it's been working. So it makes sense that the goblins might have this problem where they're slowly losing their intellect. And now here comes Xal'atath. Hey, you guys want some Kaja'mite? I can get you some of that. And just do this thing for me.
Take her hand and it'll all be okay.
Yep.
So, losing Kaja'mite is the goblins' existential problem, and goblins love a bargain. Some, like, say, the Dark Fuse that we handily put down in the Ringing Deeps, have seemingly already taken that bargain. Maybe with Xal'atath, I mean, they are quite voidy. Now remember, it's our hunt for Xal'atath that brings us to Undermine. Ian Azacosta has even said that. So it's time for us to start thinking about how compromised Goblin society has been, because it seems that Xal'atath has worked her way around all of the goblins and is manipulating their need for Kaja'mite to control them to further her ends. And if you want to understand Xal'atath's bigger scale ambitions for Khazalgar, check out this video next on the Haranir and the Black Blood.
You wonder if Kaja'mite is or native. From what I understand, Kaja'mite is it comes from Azeroth. It's like Azerite in that Azerite is more oxygenation of Azeroth's like soul blood or something like that. Kaja'mite is like a more I don't know how you would describe it, a more raw form of Azerite. It's not the same as Azerite, but it acts somewhat in the same way, and it is of Azeroth. That's I'm pretty sure that's confirmed. That Kaja'mite does in fact come from Azeroth, so it is a native thing. I don't know how its effects on goblins have affected their greed or not, whether they were innately greedy and just became more intelligent, or the Kaja'mite made them greedy. Blood versus spinal fluid, maybe, or something about like I think Azerite something more of more akin to like a scab, whereas Kaja'mite is more like, I don't know. I don't know. More just like the less pure form. I have no idea. But they're both the same. Diesel versus gas. I don't know. But they're both from Azeroth. That's supposedly what that is. So interesting stuff, interesting lore, and we'll get more into Goblin lore most assuredly going forward.